Welcome to the latest Motley Fool scoreboard. I'm on in Chalk Blue. We've got longtime fools Dan Kaplier and Toby Bordelon giving a 1 to 10 rating to the comeback player of the millennium, Microsoft, ticker symbol MSFT. It's also sometimes the largest company in the market, depending on the day with Apple. As always, we'll do a 10-second bull and bear case. We'll rate Microsoft's business, its management, and its financials. We'll talk valuation. And if there's time, fools, we'll play Armchair CEO, and we will top it. Spoiler on that. I mean, we are definitely playing Armchair CEO and top it. I don't care how long it takes. All about 12 minutes or less. Let's get to it, Dan. Tell us more about Microsoft and give us the bull bear.
So most people know Microsoft has been a software giant for decades. It ushered in the PC revolution with its office productivity software, with its operating system software. After previous leaders of the company were a little bit slow to embrace cloud computing, they brought in CEO Satya Nadella. He doubled down on the cloud, made some moves that were controversial at the time, but the result was a resurgence in Microsoft software leadership. More recently, work with OpenAI, heavy investments in artificial intelligence more broadly. They've put Microsoft at the forefront of the AI revolution. That's basically the bull case at this point. Microsoft has a lot of ways to monetize its AI advances, and it is making competitive moves in that direction. The bear case, the valuation of this stock has gone through the roof. Roughly $3 trillion right now. It has become the darling of the stock market. Anybody who remembers Cisco Systems in 2000 knows sometimes that's the kiss of death, and that is the best bear argument that I could come up with for Microsoft at this point.
Anyone who remembers Microsoft in 2000, it was a rough stretch. There was the lost decade. That's why I called it the comeback player of the millennium. I mean, but this last decade has been really good. Toby, let's dive more into Microsoft's business, including industry and competition. Scale of 1 to 10. 10 is invincible. 1 is hopeless.
I'm going to give the company a 9, Anand. The company is dominant in the industry. They have enough financial power to beat back any upstarts. That's assuming they even bother to pay attention to an upstart. Look at Teams versus Slack or Zoom, for instance. Are those other products better? Arguably, yes. Does that matter? Well, it hasn't so far. There are other tech giants out there with substantial resources, though. Google, Apple, even Amazon, all these companies mean Microsoft can't just coast and expect to keep winning. They've got to keep bolstering their strength. And that's why I'm only giving them a 9 here and not a 10. Fortunately for shareholders, they've maintained a culture of innovation and drive. And as long as they keep doing that, I think this company should stay strong.
Yeah, I think the 9 is right. There just aren't that many alternatives to its software. And even when others have challenged, Microsoft just flexes its muscles. It reins its customers in. Nobody got fired for choosing Microsoft. Who uses WordPerfect anymore? Anybody? I think I'm probably the last person who uses Quattro Pro on the spreadsheet side. Same way, just like Toby was just saying with workplace collaboration tools. It's just something Microsoft has the power and the market control basically to make sure its customers do the right thing. And that's a huge advantage in a market where a ton of enterprise customers are looking for new tech solutions. It just gives Microsoft that big edge.
I was a WordPerfect person too, but haven't used it in decades, right, Dan? And, we talked to, Toby, I think mentioned the industry. It's like, Microsoft's into everything, right? You've got those productivity tools like Word and PowerPoint and Excel, but you've also got, Windows, and then you've got its AI stuff with owning almost half of OpenAI. You've got the cloud stuff. You've got that, Teams going against Zoom. It's everywhere, and it's fighting well in all of its dimensions. Let's talk about management, because I think that's a big deal here. Toby, scale of 1 to 10. 10 is Warren Buffett. 1 is Homer Simpson.
I got to go with a 10 here. Satya Nadella has been fantastic. It's really hard to point to anyone who you can say is definitely better in their CEO role than he is. Even Warren Buffett, Anand. Nadella's just built a great team around him. You see this every time a key executive retires, right? The company just doesn't miss a beat. He's got a great team and doing a fantastic job.
I love Nadella as well, but I had to ding him a point. I'm giving him a 9. The fact is, from cloud computing to artificial intelligence, Nadella has been ahead of the curve. It is something that history has borne out, and that is why he has the reputation that he has. One thing he hasn't figured out that I have to kind of wonder why, just really hasn't done anything in the consumer space. You just don't see the Surface products doing what you would expect. You don't see the Xbox doing as much as you might expect. That seems odd given the ubiquitous nature of Microsoft products elsewhere. That's why I give him a 9 instead of a 10, but boy, he's doing a great job overall.
Dan, we use Microsoft products because we have to. not because we want to. But Toby's got a good point on Satya Nadella. I mean, he might be, at least consensus of the non-founder CEOs. I mean, it's him or Tim Cook, I think, at this point, kind of in that lead position.
He's really reinvented the company on it. I mean, it was really, to take that transition and to embrace cloud computing, he took a lot of flack for it. There was a lot of license revenue that he gave up to make the change to the cloud, but boy, has it paid off.
Yeah, he had to just blow through that innovator's dilemma and just take the plunge, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk financials, Toby. 1 to 10? 10 is a fortress. 1 is yikes.
10. Yeah, I'm going to go 10 here too. They have tons of cash flow. Debt is very manageable. That's the one knock you might give them, that they actually do have debt. It is manageable. And look, if they needed extra money one quarter, they could just always say, we'll buy back a little less stock. And there's a few billion extra we can do whatever we want with. Just a great balance sheet.
Toby says if you had to ding him, you would ding him on debt. And that's why I'm giving him a 9 instead of a 10. But admittedly, that balance sheet is extremely strong. The cash well in excess of the debt. The debt is really more of a money management feature than anything else. Now that the costs of that debt are probably going to go up, I wouldn't be surprised to see Microsoft let it work off the balance sheet at this point. Consistent growth on the sales side, consistent growth on the profit side. That has been what has sent the stock to all-time highs, and it's why I like its financial health as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd have to take a look to see what those interest rates are at, but if they are indeed at the lower rates from a few years ago, that's just really good capital management. If you've got that, then the higher times pay it off because you've got the consistent cash flow. Let's talk valuation. Let's see how the stock does in the next 5 years. Dan, what do you think?
So I'm giving it my general market expectation of 5 to 10%. I think the love for artificial intelligence has pulled forward some of the returns. It pushed it up to that $3 trillion valuation. It has some high expectations to live up to. Shareholders very much expecting full monetization of the AI offerings, and that will boost sales like we've seen with NVIDIA. If anything happens, if anything falls short of that, then I think there's a chance for the stock not to do as well. That's kind of why I'm reining in those return expectations.
Yeah, I'm going to say somewhere between 10 and 15%, and honestly, probably on the lower end of that range. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, how can you give them such a low expectation as much as you like the company? But I think Dan is right here. A $3 trillion company, I just don't think we can expect high double-digit growth here. That's just the reality of what we're dealing with. They are going to grow. Just don't look at this as something that's going to double your money in the next 2 or 3 years.
And for a $3 trillion company to get 10 to 15% annual returns over the next 5 years, that would be really impressive. So you're not underselling them here. Let's talk safety of this. That's part of valuation. Dan, how safe is Microsoft stock? 10 is a sure thing. 1 is a lottery ticket.
I think this might be my lowest score for Microsoft here. I gave him a 7. I looked up the beta for this to get a sense of its volatility, the stock's volatility compared to the market. It's below the market's volatility. But I don't think you should let that fool you. The stock is vulnerable to big pullbacks. It saw a big pullback in the bear market of 2022. Not as big as you saw with smaller tech companies, but it's still going to take continued success for Microsoft to live up to that $3 trillion valuation. If it doesn't, then shareholders need to be prepared for those inevitable pullbacks from time to time.
Yeah, I'll say a 9 here. I really like what they're doing. I think that's the pretty safe bet, but they aren't invincible, right? Look no further than the incident to where you alluded to, Nod, at the top of the show, back in the day with the government lawsuit. That's a risk. They have suffered through subpar CEOs in the past that have damped down performance. But their recent execution has been very good. I love their financial resources. I think this is going to make it very difficult for someone else to go after them. So all in all, I'm going to go with a 9 here.
It's kind of wild, Dan. You mentioned a $3 trillion valuation. It's I could be off by 1 or 2, but I think it could have its market cap and still be a top 5 company in the market, which is wild to think about.
Yeah.
Let's play Armchair CEO. Dan, if you're running Microsoft, what's the first thing you'd change?
It's real simple. I would just boost the dividend. Having a yield below 1% is an embarrassment at this point. They've got the cash flow. There's plenty of room for them to continue to do AI investment, but still treat shareholders better. I think it's time for some of these more mature tech companies to start boosting their payouts and give shareholders a bigger piece of the pie.
Yeah, I'm going to circle back here to something Dan mentioned at the top of the show in his criticism of management. I would go harder after the consumer tech space. Microsoft is dominant in enterprise productivity software, and that's fantastic. But in the work from home era, and let's be honest here, guys, even if you're going back to the office, you're still probably working from home a lot more than you used to, right? A lot of the business is getting done at home, and a lot of it is getting done with tools people buy themselves. So I think Microsoft has an opportunity to get a bigger share of this market, especially right now when brand reputation for the company does seem to be pretty high.
I will throw Microsoft a bone here. I do love my Microsoft ergonomic keyboard. So there you go. You got a foothold in that consumer space, if you call it consumer. Let's try to top it. Dan, is there a company in Microsoft space you like more?
I actually prefer Alphabet. Somehow Alphabet got a reputation as an underdog. Expectations are much lower there, and the valuation's more reasonable in my view. I think Microsoft has to be perfect to live up to its expectations. When Alphabet shows even faint signs of promise, its stock jumps. I think that makes it a better investment at this point.
No. Honestly, no. There's no one else I like better to answer the question directly. No one has the whole package. No one has what Microsoft does. No one else does it better. This is why they are a $3 trillion company.
Right. Well, thanks to Dan and Toby for sharing their expertise and their views. They've given Microsoft an overall score of 8.5 out of 10. Which makes Microsoft the 15th scoreboard company that I must own. Congrats to the house that Bill Gates built. Be sure to leave us a rating, a comment, or a stock request. We'll keep the stuff you love. We'll ditch the stuff you don't. Look out for a new scoreboard every market day at 7 p.m. Eastern. Till then, Fool on.